up ahead. Affirmative 612.
This month on the Wealthy Pilots podcast, Scott, let's talk about downsizing and maybe a few things to really think about. Housing prices are really slowly starting to cool. We'll see if the Fed changes, does anything to that or not. But people, it's a big question in retirement as you get closer to retirement. Do we need the big house and all that kind of stuff, right? So let's run a few things here. I want to go through some like common downsizing beliefs and, kind of what your take is and how you see that as a planner. How you doing this week? You doing all right?
Yeah, man. Good. Excited to talk about this one. This is a big one that a lot of our near or recently retired clients bring up. So this will be a good topic.
I mean, you've got a whole pro basketball team in your house. You've got a lot of people.
You're a little short for that.
You got a lot of people in your house.
Yeah.
But one of these days, you and the wife may want a smaller house because you won't need all that space per se, right? So this could be something that you've got to think about as well. So go through a few common, downsizing beliefs, bullet points, kind of break it down for us.
Okay, the first thing I want to say here, again, especially with a lot of my pilot and executive clients that are, doing pretty well financially, and we're trying to lower tax bills and get better returns and make smarter decisions and build that comprehensive plan that performs well. Mm-hmm. The very first thing I'll say is, if downsizing the home is something that comes up as like a financial need, I think your retirement plan sucks. Like you have missed the mark. I mean, like, again, I got a 9-person family, so we have a pretty large home. Backyard's awesome. I eventually am going to see, I keep telling my girls, I expect to see 49 grandkids back here eventually. I did my 7. You guys got to each do your 7 too. So I don't know if I'll have 49 grandkids back there, but what I will say is, if I end up having to leave this home because the utilities and taxes are too high, then I have grossly failed my wife and my kids and future grandkids from a financial planning standpoint. And so that's the very first thing I would like to bring up is that we should be building a plan that we're going to have the lifestyle and retirement that we want to have. And if we want to downsize, then we should be downsizing because we want to downsize. And so that let's start with good planning first. Is we're going to get to do what we want, when we want, within reason in retirement. That's like the phrase almost all of my clients have. It's the same vision I have for my own retirement. Yeah. Yes, I'm not expecting to go buy my own private island, but I want to be able to do what I want, when I want, within reason in retirement. Okay?
Yeah. You downsize because your knees are shot, not because your plan was shot, right?
100%. Yeah. And so, to me, with that said, and that kind of disclaimer, I did want to talk about just a couple, I'll almost say like downsizing beliefs or misnomers that I hear people talk about. Okay. And so maybe we can kind of bust a couple of these myths. The first one is really like a smaller home will lower my monthly expenses. And to me, this is, especially right now, got a gigantic asterisk on it. Like one thing I'm open to for people, if it's part of their plan, is to like never pay their house off. I'm like, hey, if you got a good rate, just pay the low rate. And for a lot of people, paying the mortgage off is, not that big of a life changing experience when they look at the utility bills and the taxes and the insurance. Anyways, it's a good portion of the monthly expense. Right. And so, to me, if we look at, you're currently paying a house and you wanted to downsize to a smaller house. I mean, with these higher interest rates, we ran the numbers for a couple of people and they're like, well, you're going to pay more per month to have less house. How does that feel? That doesn't feel good to anybody. And so even if the house is more than they need and maybe even more than they want, if it's like geographically in the location they want, like they're living where they want to live, they're like either the weather, the environment, they're near their kids and grandkids, whatever. If they're where they want to be, they tend to feel like, hey, I'm just going to stay here because the math supports that. And so you do want to make sure that you're running the numbers completely, cost of ownership versus cost of ownership, because a smaller home is not always going to lower your monthly expenses. You might be moving to a more expensive state, a more expensive city. And so even if you're getting into a smaller home that's like easier to take care of, right? You might have HOA fees, you might have higher property taxes. There's a lot that can go into the total cost of ownership. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's one. The other one that I see as a common downsizing belief, right? I can use the equity from my home to pay off debt or boost my retirement savings. I would say, yes, you can. That's not necessarily a myth. You can do that, but should you do that? Home equity is a good thing to have. I mean, for some of our folks, we view that as the last resort for long-term care. If they don't want to own an insurance policy, then the plan becomes you're going to self-fund. And then, hey, if we don't want to liquidate assets later on, you can always use equity from the home. It is, from an assets and liability standpoint, it's on the asset side. You can use it to advance your financial cause. So it is there. But we don't really recommend using that as that avenue to pay off debt or boost retirement savings for sure. One other aspect that I see with a lot of folks is they're wanting to get into something that is, you mentioned, hey, my knees are shot. They want to get into something that is a little bit more user friendly.
One level typically is the big piece, right? We had a 2-story or a 3-story, can't do it anymore.
Right. And so, if you look from a long-term care standpoint, like, hey, if you're starting to get into your 70s and beyond, what causes people to get hurt? It's absolutely like stairs is a big one. And if you're in your 60s and retiring and you're like, hey, I want to set myself up. Yeah, probably getting into something that's one level, but also, man, take a chunk of money out of your retirement savings. And then like so much of not spending a bunch of money on long-term care when you're older is some preventative measures. So if you can look and make sure that you have ADA compliant, bathrooms for yourself, right? Getting on and off the toilet, getting in and out of the shower. And then if you look at, the width of doorways, having handrails on your stairs, making sure your stairs are fixed and level and equally spaced. I mean, that is such a huge small detail.
Yes. My wife does environmental safety and health. And she's like, it's mind boggling the small fraction that steps can be off that lead to the biggest number of spills. It's wild. It's a really tiny amount that they can be off and people fall all the time.
Well, and dude, I mean, I'm in my low 40s and I have stuff happen to me and I kind of catch myself. I'm like, dude, 30 years from now, that might kill me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
it's like an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch of stairs are off. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. It just gets you thinking, and to me, those are the things where if you are going to stay in your home, because of some of the reasons we're talking about, if you end up saying, hey, we're going to stay here. We like where we live. We love the home. We love the yard, blah, blah, blah. Still go through and hire a contractor to come through and say, hey, help me make this home ADA compliant.
And start
Even if
planning
you're not
that.
an American with disabilities, you're
Right.
going to set yourself up to hopefully not be an American with a disability.
Well, right. And if you start planning that, Scott, you're working with your advisor saying, hey, we're going to need to do X amount of dollars of renovations on the home. Again, having that runway to do that 10, 15 years is awesome. You got more time to plan that stuff out.
Absolutely. Let's kind of hit another couple ones here. So the other one I see is, people talk about like, hey, I don't know if that home will actually feel like home because we've been in this home for a long time. We have all our memories here.
That's understandable. Yeah.
It is definitely understandable. But again, after working with many people who are late in their retirements, I'll say, okay, it can be somewhat emotional, but near the end, it's merely logistics that is really helping people to feel like they're being successful in their late retirement or not. And when I say logistics, I mean they're close to family, or close to caretakers, I should say, more importantly.
Right.
Close to caretakers, easy to take care of, and there's a strong reduction of stuff. Okay. And when I talk about that, I mean near the end, like let's say you're 5 to 10 years from the end of your retirement, you're going to want to be in a place where you don't have a lot to take care of and you don't have a lot of junk all over the place.
Yeah, decluttering big time. Yeah.
And so that's something that kind of early in retirement, you can take a look at and say, hey, if we're moving, we get an opportunity to kind of get a reset on our stuff. I mean, I know there was a period for work where I moved like twice in 4 years, and it was amazing. It was the least amount of stuff we ever had. It was awesome.
Yeah, I know, right?
And now with 9 people in the house that we have with like 14 closets or whatever there is, I don't know, like every nook and cranny is like shoved with some sort of like stuffy doll or Barbie doll or,
right,
homecoming dresses or whatever. It's stuff everywhere,
Yeah, we're doing that right now. I mean, I've got plenty of space, but it's like it's too much. And my daughter's buying her first house, and I'm like, why do I have like a room full of your crap when you're going to have your own brand new home? Get it out.
Yes.
You know?
Yep. The other thing I would say is, people will commonly bring up too, like, hey, I don't like during this, Andrew and I are getting closer to this phase, but we got enough kids. Our phases will overlap enough. But let's say my brother's got like 2 kids. He's 2 years away from being an empty nester.
Mm-hmm.
There's that thought that, hey, I need less space now, but I'll miss the space that I have or the yard that I have or whatever when my kids and grandkids come to visit. And so again, I'm not going to be the one that tell you that that's true or not true, but it is worth a consideration. Like, hey, I've talked to many people that bought a lake home with the vision of the grandkids coming over every weekend and every summer. And then their grandkids get older and they're in travel softball and they never see them.
Yeah.
And it's like, there is that balance of like, hey, you just got to do what's best for you.
Exactly. And you got to have conversations too, Scott. Like you got to be honest, right? Talk with your family members and say, hey, are we going to be, and I guess this all depends on how you live, but if everybody's nearby, are we going to be the communal home still, right? Have that chat.
Absolutely. And I think, more times than not, I think people are surprised that they're not.
Right.
And, if you are, I think that's awesome. That's most people's dream is to, hey man, hopefully all the kids and grandkids will come over all the time. Well, the reality is you have a lot of people that are, moving all over the country for work and things of that nature. And again, back to kids just with travel sports and this and that. It's
life gets in the way. Yeah. Life gets
in the way of this vision I had of all 49 grandkids coming over every Friday night for a pool night and sleepover. Like it's just not reality.
You'll have that. You'll want that to happen for about the first month. And then you'll be like, why did I ever want this to happen?
I know. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I mean, those are things that, again, I'm not here to say as a blanket rule, like many things in planning in general, it's not a blanket rule. It's just more so their considerations, right?
Yeah, for sure. I love how you started it though. Like if you're moving simply because you can't afford it, was your plan the right plan all along, right? I kind of like that idea. If you're moving because you want to, or because there's a health reason or some other things like that, that's fine, right? But don't be forced out of your I guess your dream home or your family home or your estate home just because of poor planning.
Exactly. And so, and a lot of times I think people will do it for financial reasons. And then they realize after the fact, I barely move the needle, know?
Yeah.
And, there's a cost to move, right? I mean,
oh, sure.
They say only your best friends will help you move, right? Yeah. If somebody shows up to help you move, that's a good friend,
Yeah. And they're not doing it for pizza and beer anymore.
Exactly. In your 60s, I'm like, well, maybe I'll have no friends by then. I don't know if I'm in my 60s, I'm helping anybody move anymore. But at the same token, I mean, even if you have the money to do that, like moving's expensive, right? You're fixing stuff in your house to make it sellable. You're paying somebody to move you. Like all that is capital that you're dipping into to facilitate the move. And so again, if you amortize that over the life of the home that you're buying, that adds to the headwind that it makes financial sense to move. And so, to me, I think good planning comes down to what do we want to do in retirement? If we want to move, then we want to move. If we want to downsize, we want to downsize, right? And I mean, I know people that leave a condo here in Northwest Ohio and they pick up a condo down in Florida. They float between the 2 condos. They don't own a lawnmower anymore. They don't own this. They don't know that. And their life is super simple.
And if that's what you want, nothing wrong with that. Exactly.
For sure. So, I mean, at the end of the day, downsizing is not just a real estate decision. There's a lot that goes into it. It's going to impact the finances, sometimes positive, sometimes negative. It impacts the relationships. And you want to go into it with a little bit of that thought of like caretakers down the road too. And not just, people that are going to have you live with them while you're in your dying years, but even just people to check on you and be close, in your later years. So
exactly.
And again, plans change all the time. And so just because you kind of go into retirement with one plan doesn't mean that, due to the dynamic way of our lives that we're handcuffed to that decision forever. So again, a good financial plan and a good portfolio is going to do a lot to get you the freedom to do different things in retirement.
Yeah.
And
it's one of the many pieces of the retirement planning process, Scott. I mean, there's just a ton of them, right? And so like your toolkit, that's a great way for folks to get started, right? So there's probably 20 decisions, maybe 100 decisions when it comes to retirement, right? So you got to get started. So the toolkit's a good way to go.
Absolutely. That in a lot of the toolkit really talks to like, how do we build a robust portfolio that's tax efficient? Because at the end of the day, if I can be super tax efficient with my retirement savings, things like state tax rates have a lot lower. I mean, if I'm going to live in Florida or California when I retire, and one has 0% income tax and the other has 13% income tax for the highest brackets, that has a big difference on my net income.
Yeah.
And obviously, like the portfolio size, if I have $2 million or I have $4 million, those are two different things in terms of the decisions I get to make in retirement. And so we're big fans of trying to grow that portfolio as aggressively as possible, because the more tax efficient money we have, the more financial freedom we get to have, and the more decisions we can make, and then we can react. I mean, if we move one area and then a couple of family members end up in a different area and we end up not liking being where we're at, we can move. It's not that big a deal, because we have the means and the resources to facilitate that.
Yeah. So if downsizing is on your radar, folks, make sure you're sitting down and talking with your financial professional to see if, what's the right move? Is it the right move? And how can you do that as efficiently as possible? And if you'd like to check out and get a copy of the toolkit for yourself, it is complimentary. We'll have Molly jump on here and tell you how to do that in just a second. But before we do, don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, whatever podcasting app you like using. Of course, right here on YouTube is the best way. Hit that thumbs up and notification bell, and we'll see you next time here on the Wealthy Pilots podcast. Scott, thanks for hanging out, brother.
Thanks, my man. See you soon.
We'll see you next time. And Molly will tell you how to get that toolkit.
Hey everyone, real quick, if you haven't grabbed Scott's Financial Flight Control Toolkit yet, now is the time. This is packed with tons of helpful resources and tools like this, Scott's book, The Dichotomy of Wealth, which is a pilot's guide to maximizing wealth and cash flow in retirement. You also get access to some great guides like this one, Advice Matters, which breaks down 4 key ways a good financial advisor can help you boost your returns over time. And guides like this one on the pitfalls of emotions when it comes to investing, and this one on the HCM byline investment strategy, and more. So if you'd like your very own Financial Flight Control Toolkit, just click the link in today's show description, and Scott and the team will be happy to get one sent your way at absolutely no cost to you.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.